Today, we are going to be talking all things about your period, exercise and rituals for different stages of your cycle, plus a grounding meditation at the end for a little midday mindfulness to send you off feeling more connected and in tune with your body as we are discussing the feminine body today. Now, if you are thinking that I love the show, but I am a male and I don't think that I can get anything out of this, you 100% can. If you know someone who bleeds, or you are someone who bleeds every month, this episode is for you. It's filled with so many different insights to the female body and the cycle, and also recent research that has come out as we're going to talk about the lead in tampons.
You're listening to The Holistic Ritual, a podcast for holistic health-minded humans seeking mind, body, spirit well-being. Hosted by Kamala Celeste, IIN holistic health coach and former personal trainer, with over a decade of experience helping humans become the best versions of themselves, both mentally and physically. Here, you'll discover meditations, affirmation readings, thought-provoking insights, and all things related to holistic health and healing. We blend Eastern and Western rituals, practices, and research to guide you on your wellness journey. Without further ado, let's get into the episode.
Hello, welcome. If you are just joining us today for the first time, and if you are a returning listener, welcome back. I am so happy to have you here today. To open, I have some cards here, and I would love to do an opening segment with you. I invite you to just, wherever you are, if you are driving, if you're listening in the middle of your workday, if you are winding down in the evening, about to go to sleep, whatever you are doing, I invite you to pick a number, 1 or 2, and I'm going to draw 2 affirmation cards and just invite spirit, one just fell out, and divine guidance to offer us whatever message that you need to hear, that we pick some cards that align with whatever you may need in this moment. So we have one that's already fallen on the ground, and if you are set on your number, either number 1 or number 2, let's give it a quick little shuffle here. Pretty good at shuffling. Shuffling's kind of like a little hidden talent of mine, I suppose, or an odd talent. Okay, and we have the second one. I'm just going to leave those right over here. Jump down here. So number 1 or number 2. Go with number 1. Number 1, your affirmation is, I am strong. I'm stronger than I think I am. I reject victimhood. My strength is in knowing that all circumstances are temporary. I focus my attention on what's in front of me. I naturally move forward into new phases of life. I am strong. Whether you needed to hear that today or not, or maybe you didn't know you needed to hear that, I invite you, number 1s, to sit with those words and to know that you are strong, a lot stronger than you think you are. If you have found your way here today, as we discussed last week, or last episode, I should say, there is so much strength in vulnerability. So even if you feel that you are someone who tends to be on the more emotional or emotionally in tune, I should say, side of things, vulnerability is such a strength, and never be afraid to show it. My number 2s, the affirmation that has made its way to you today is, I am aware. When I pay attention to my surroundings, I can feel appreciation for everything. I see so much beauty in the world. Being aware means living in the present and fully experiencing my life in the here and now. I am aware. Number 2, whether you are needing to invite more presence in your life, to create that awareness of your surroundings, having gratitude for the little things in life. Maybe being more present can come with doing something, a simple little ritual like looking out the window and taking in your surroundings, or better yet, if it is good weather outside, or you don't mind the weather outside, maybe actually venture outside and just take a look at your surroundings, be in the elements for a little while, and invite a little more presence, even if it means taking 5 minutes away from your workday, heading outside and just soaking in the present moment. I love doing affirmations to open up the show, or some type of ritualistic experience for you so that you are centered as you take in the information that we are about to discuss today. Which leads me to what we are probably here for. We are here to talk about the recent study that came out of UC Berkeley, the lead found in feminine care products, specifically tampons. So the study did testing on almost every kind of different tampon. So organic, non-organic, big name brands, little brands. And they found toxins in all of them, specifically high amounts of heavy metals such as lead. As you know, we have seen the rise in cancers and different illnesses and chronic conditions that are happening younger and younger in our society today. It is concerning, and especially because the vagina is one of the most permeable places in your body. Anything that you put in there or that goes in there, it's highly absorbable. It's a highly permeable area of your body. So I just want to read from my notes that I have down here just to make sure that I don't mess anything up, as this is research and I want to convey the information as accurately as possible. So the study came out of UC Berkeley that nearly every major tampon brand can contain toxic metals like lead, arsenic, and cadmium. While this is incredibly alarming for so many different reasons, and how does this happen? How is there not testing that is just more comprehensive in what is actually in these? How did they even get in there? And what is going on at these factories that all of the supplies are being contaminated? That is a bigger question that we would be well served to ask, in addition to all this information that's being presented today. Let's talk about what are the actual health concerns or the harm from using tampons if you are someone of bleeding age and you do utilize tampons. How is it harming your body, and what are the adverse health effects from that? So here's what we know. During the testing, the metal concentrations varied quite a bit depending on where the tampons were purchased. So either in the US or the UK is where the studies of tampons were conducted, and then the EU in general. And this also happened to do with organic and non-organic tampons, as I mentioned before. Also, store versus name brand, so off-brand things. And they did find that these metals were found in organic and non-organic tampons, in both of them. It didn't matter if they were organic or not, which is really surprising to me as someone who is very much a advocate for holistic health and buying things organic so that we know that they are not sprayed with harmful pesticides and chemicals. How did lead get in there? And then the study goes on to say that neither organic versus non-organic had consistently lower concentrations of all or most metals. So lead concentrations were higher in non-organic tampons, but arsenic was higher in organic tampons. And we all know that arsenic is more commonly referred to as a poison. So then we have to ask ourselves, how did this happen? How did these toxic metals get into the tampons. Metals could make their way into tampons a number of different ways. The cotton material could have absorbed the metals from water, from the soil, from the air even, or through a nearby contaminant. So for example, if a cotton field was next to a lead smelter, so that is one way that it could have been leaked into the supply. And some could also be added intentionally during manufacturing as part of like pigment, whitener, antibacterial agents, or during some other processes in the factory that produces these products, which would be very upsetting. But more research actually needs to be done. This was the first study that was conducted like this. I will not get on my soapbox about how women have been overlooked in health for years and years and years, decades and decades, which as this pertains to women, it goes right into that category, I feel like. And so we know that it is actually unclear how much damage is actually being done by using tampons. More research is needed to test how much of these metals can leach out of the tampons when they are being used and absorbed by the body, as well as measuring the presence of other chemicals and other contaminants in tampons. So this study only focused on metals, which is still a pretty concerning thing. And I think I'm just laughing as it's just, I don't know what else to do at this point. Like, it is so just disheartening, especially the findings about the organic tampons, because as someone who's trying to do, trying to be healthy, trying to put the best things on my body, in my body, and do the best thing for my body to live a long and healthy life, it's disheartening to know that products aren't just face value. Everything needs to be looked into before purchasing things. As far as myself personally, I feel that I need to look into everything before I purchase it, just to ensure that I know exactly what I'm getting. And I think that was by design. When other places, like I know the EU was a part of this study as well, but in other places, especially in Europe, I've just traveled there for a couple of weeks over a summer vacation, and just knowing that their food supply, they have different laws and regulations and different chemicals that are banned, that are allowed here in the US, that are considered toxins and carcinogens in the EU. It just feels like the US isn't doing enough to keep us safe from harmful long-term adverse health effects from products that are made primarily by big corporations. And I'll leave it at that. So why is this concerning? Is there a non-toxic amount of lead that we are able to be exposed to? What we do know is that the skin of the vagina, as I talked about earlier, is highly permeable. There's a higher potential for chemical absorption, no matter how small, of contaminants are in these tampons. And it is more absorbable than any other skin on the body. Anything that's absorbed in the vagina doesn't go through the gastrointestinal tract or is filtered by the liver. It is just straight into your system. So something to keep in mind if you are someone who uses tampons and you are looking for alternative options. Hearing this information, I know it can be scary, and my intention here isn't to scare you or isn't to fearmonger. It is just to help you be informed so that whatever you decide to do with this information, that is your business. But as a holistic health coach and someone who has been working in fitness for the past 10 years and who helps people maintain healthy, holistic lifestyles, it's important for me to talk about this and for this information to get discussed in a way that is factual and accurate, especially because 50 to 80% of people who menstruate are using tampons as their main form of managing their cycle. And also for potentially some of the male identifying listeners today, tampons can be worn up to several hours at a time. So it's not like we are putting one in and then taking it out within 30 minutes or an hour even. They can be worn, it is said on the packaging that they can be worn up to 8 hours. It is not recommended to sleep in them overnight, but from 5 to 8 hours, and anything over that limit, that's when we're getting into like toxic shock syndrome, which is basically tampon poisoning that can happen if you leave that in your system for too long. And that also leads me to kind of like a side note. I wonder how correlated this finding of lead in tampons is to toxic shock syndrome. I wonder if there's any type of correlation there, which is interesting. So any scientific people, researchers out there, that would be a very captivating study. So it's also very concerning because how much of that exposure is okay and how much of that exposure is okay when it is being put in a very highly absorbable area of your body. We do know that heavy metal exposure is linked to dementia, infertility, and cancer, which is very prevalent here in the United States today. Heavy metal exposure can also damage the kidneys and the liver, and also the brain, as well as the cardiovascular, nervous, and endocrine systems. In addition, these metals can harm maternal health and fetal development. So very concerning things. Very concerning things for sure. The last thing that this study authored was there is no safe exposure level to lead, making it a concern regardless of the amount present in tampons, period. So what are we gonna do? What should we do? What are some alternative options? That is a great question. I'm so glad you asked because I am here to give you some of those alternative options that I have looked into myself personally and have vetted them, doing my own research. As I always say on almost every single piece of content that I make that is informative and educational, always do your own research as well. Don't just take my word for things. While I do my due diligence. That is so hard to say when I've been stumbling over my words so much today already, which I'm probably going to edit out, but I do my due diligence to ensure that the information I'm putting out there is accurate, reliable, and is based on science with a little sprinkle in of witchy woo-woo things as well, because that is just who I am. So options. Opting for non-big name brand tampons. There were so many big name brand tampons that were included in this research study that their names have not been released. So it is safe to say, just stay away from big name brand tampons. Like, I won't even say, I don't want to get sued, but big name brand tampons, not good. Opt for smaller brands, less notable brands, and some brands that I have looked into and I have heard from other health professionals as well are Cora Organic, which is ORGANYC, August, and Viv. And I will say August with a caveat because there hasn't been any released statement on whether their tampons contain lead or not. So with a caveat, it's a small business and I love to support and help out small businesses. And I think they have a pretty cool story. But and their packaging is amazing. Okay, this is not this is not an ad for August. So August with a caveat. The other three brands, so Cora Organic with a Y, and then Viv they have released statements that they do not contain lead in their tampons. If any tampon brand decided to ever release their test results, just like supplements, we look for test results to see the actual potency and quality of the ingredients in the supplements to ensure that we're not just taking watered down sugar pills. That would be amazing for tampon companies to start doing, especially with this new research that has come out. My second tip would be to prioritize that transparency. Any companies that publicly disclose their testing methods and the results of those definitely 100% can get behind that and would be okay to purchase. Also, something that I kind of started experimenting with when I worked at a zero waste herbal shop was menstrual discs and menstrual cups. I purchased a disc. I think it was like too big for me or something because it was a little bit uncomfortable, but for when I was wearing it, they do come in different sizes. When I was wearing the disc, I had no leaking or anything with it. And then it's supposed to be okay for use during intercourse. I did not test that out. I was kind of too scared. I thought it was gonna I don't know, just all come out during. And so it was just a messy thing that I did not want to get into in my head. Not that I had any proof that that would happen. And then also the menstrual cups. So the discs are more they're kind of like this big if you're watching, but I'd say they're like the size of, I don't know, a small orange, but you squeeze them and they're very thin and then they just expand and go over your cervix. And then the menstrual cups, they're more taller, so a little bit longer, and then you just kind of squeeze them and I have not experimented with the cups, but things to look for in the cups are silicone cups are great, and then medical grade is always good as well. And they're also environmentally friendly and more sustainable options as you can reuse them and wash them out. To clean them, all you need to do is rinse them out and then boil them for a deeper clean. Always in hot water just to kill any germs and bacteria that may accompany that. Another thing I would recommend is to use pads a lot more than you use tampons. So just to be extra safe, I am very blessed and very fortunate that I work from home, and when I am on my cycle, you better believe that I will use a pad over a tampon any day so that I can just be in my little gremlin era and not have to worry about any of the tampon business going on. And if you are someone who is active and you would like to utilize pads for me during activity have been not reliable at all. And so I would never go to the gym or do a leg day or something with a pad on. It's just, I personally don't feel comfortable wearing that during any type of activity. So I would recommend doing the pad for whenever you are not doing activity, only using a tampon during your activity, and then switching back to a pad after you're done with activity or exercise. So swimming, working out, moving around a lot. If you know that you have a job that you have to move around a lot during the workday, only use it then, and then as soon as you get home, back to pad usage would be a safer way to use tampons instead of just your only option and go-to. I always keep on hand both pads and tampons just to, you never know when you're going to use or when you're going to want to use either one. And especially because I'm someone who has PCOS and I also never know when I'm going to get my period. So there's that as well. We are just getting so close and personal today. The other thing I would say is vote with your dollars. Boycott those big brand tampons. Look out for legislation that comes up as more research is done and more research comes out that would push to require stricter testing laws, manufacturing processes to ensure that heavy metals are no longer an issue and they are no longer contaminants in tampons, which to me is common sense. Apparently in the US, it's not. And I guess in the UK and the EU too when it comes to this specific issue. Which leads me into the next segment. One way to make sure that you are the most informed and you are prepared and utilizing this information is to know what part of your cycle you are in. This means honoring your cycle and the different phases. And I'll probably put some graphics up here just so we understand. If you are watching this on Spotify or YouTube, a woman's feminine cycle. Okay, let's back up for a second. A man has a hormonal cycle as well as women. For men, their hormonal cycle is the same every 24 hours. So at 9 a.m., they're going to feel exactly the same every single day. At 3 p.m., they'll feel exactly the same every single day. At 6 p.m., hormonally, not, mentally, there could be a whole other thing. And generally speaking, this is what happens for men. They have the same hormonal cycle that happens every 24 hours. So typically they tend to feel pretty even-keeled every day. Now, for women, we have the same hormonal cycle, a similar hormonal cycle, but instead of it happening in 24 hours, it happens over 28 days. And we'll put some graphics over here to demonstrate the differences between men's cycle and a woman's cycle. So women go through, and this is probably not new information to you, but if it is, I am so happy that I am sharing it. But it never hurts sometimes, to get information reiterated. It may be presented in a way that you grasp a little bit better. So who knows? Okay, so the female cycle happens over 28 days. There are 4 different blocks to that, if you will. So there is the menstrual phase, which marks the first day of the female's cycle. Then there is the follicular phase, which happens right after a woman's period. And we'll put the rough amount of how many days each one is. You have ovulation, which is only a few days for a typical woman who doesn't have any other health concerns like me, like PCOS or something. And then you have the luteal phase. And I kind of want to insert a clip on TikTok here of a guy who's like, what's the luteal phase?
Can somebody explain what the luteal phase means? I just asked a girl on a date and she said no because she's in the luteal phase, and to try again when she's in the follicular phase. I'm not great with astrology.
The luteal phase is not our best. We are not feeling our best at all. Anyways, so let's take down those graphics and kind of get into more in depth what each phase of the cycle entails, different exercise that would best support you, and then also different rituals and practices that can honor your body during that specific phase of your cycle. Part of being prepared and having some of these alternative options on hand and ready to go for your next period goes along with tracking your cycle and knowing what phase you're in. This is not only beneficial for no unexpected surprises, but also for your overall health and well-being, just as a woman in general. So honoring our cycles, adapting to our body's unique needs during the 4 different phases can go such a long way. How are we going to know what phase of our cycle we are in? I love to utilize apps to help me with this. And this is probably even more accurate if you are someone who your period is like clockwork. I am not someone whose cycle is like that, but these apps kind of help give me a guidance of where I'm even at or where I could potentially be at. And they tend to be somewhat accurate. So I say somewhat just because it's hard to predict when your hormones are out of balance, like something like PCOS or endometriosis or any type of reproductive health concerns going on. The app that I use personally is called the MyFlow app, different from just Flow. It's the MyFlow app, and it was created by a doctor, by a female doctor, who knows what the heck is actually going on with our bodies. I know there was some talk a few years ago that these health apps are selling your data. The MyFlow app does not sell your data. It is completely safe to use. Another app that I like to use, I guess, or just a tool that I like to use is a thermometer. And there's also an app that goes hand in hand with using a thermometer for figuring out where you are in your cycle. It's called Natural Cycles. So it uses your body temperature to help determine which phase you're in. So it can be pretty accurate. And like I said, I do have PCOS, so I do have irregular cycles, and it does make it a bit more challenging to know what phase I am in. But even having something that gives you just a little bit of guidance to help you align better with what phase you could be in has honestly made me feel just so much better in my body in the different phases. This is also, even if you are on the pill and you do know what phase you are in, the MyFlow app is really great on listing out different foods, different practices, a little more in depth than what I'm going to talk about here today. It is a paid app for some of the advanced features, like getting more nutritional plans and things like that. But it's been so helpful for me, and I am all about honoring my cycle and helping support it through exercise and food and different rituals and practices. Another thing that really helps to get more information and insight to your body is getting some good quality testing done. I recently got a ton of blood work done and different tests. I signed up for Dr. Mark Hyman's Function Health, which they test over 100 biomarkers to help you figure out what the heck your body's doing, where it's at, which I found incredibly important, knowing that I have PCOS, knowing where my levels were, and just to get more of a handle on these metrics and biomarkers that are not traditionally done by your doctor. So your doctor, you have to ask for some of these tests. And even then, insurance, because it is not routine, they might not cover it. So I paid a flat fee to have all this testing done. I mean, they did tons and tons and tons of blood work, and I'm not squeamish of blood work, but if you are, I don't know if that would be for you, but it is very beneficial and very helpful, because I found out not only some things that kind of more affirming for me, but also things about my health that I never would have known if I did not get this testing done. And it's helping me take actual actionable steps to ensure that I am on top of this. It's been just such a great resource for me, and I highly recommend anybody, and this is not sponsored by the way, I think this is a life-changing thing, and it's one of the most accessible forms of insight into your own body and your own health than insurance ever could be at this point in time. With that being said, testing alone can cost thousands and thousands of dollars. So for a fraction of what all this testing would have cost, insurance or not, it's just something so good to look into. Getting to know where some of these key hormone levels are that pertain to your female health was so incredible to know and so beneficial. And it's not just for women, it's for anybody with a pulse. Well, let me take a sip of water first before we get into some of the different phases of the cycle. So exercise, foods, supplements, moods, and spiritual practices. Starting out with the menstrual phase, and I'll put a little graphic here on how long it lasts, and kind of like the chart thing that goes with our like hormone cycles. If you're watching, you'll understand what I'm talking about. If you're just listening, I'm sorry, I'm doing weird hand motions and things. So the menstrual phase. Estrogen and progesterone are at their lowest here in this phase, and you uterus is shedding its uterine lining. So your body is busy. It is doing the most down there. Because your body is doing the most, it is not uncommon to feel lethargic in the very beginning of this phase. And as you progress with your cycle, you typically tend to regain a little more energy day by day. It's really important during this phase to focus on low impact movements, especially at the very beginning of your cycle. So things like yoga or going on walks. We are also our most intuitive and most connected, not only to ourselves, but to the world around us and to the people around us. Our intuition is at such a height here, so this is the perfect time to be doing those deep meditations, some journaling, or rituals during this time, new moon rituals, moon phase rituals, I guess I should say. This is when you can get some pretty profound downloads from source, being so connected to the cosmos during this time. And I'll even go as far as to say utilizing your menstrual blood in some of these rituals can feel incredibly powerful. Out there and very woo-woo, but bleeding is a natural thing for every single woman on this planet, and reclaiming it in this way can feel so liberating and so empowering. While listening to your body is key in all phases of your cycle, it is especially important during your menstrual phase of your cycle. If you are experiencing period-related pain during this time, there's no need to suck it up and push through. The weight of your flow, so if it's heavy or light, can also really affect the different types of movements that you feel up to. So just take it easy, really adjust your activity during this phase according to how your body is feeling. Really listen to your body. Please adjust your activity level accordingly. This is probably not time to try and hit a PR, to do a bunch of high intensity workouts or that spin class or anything that is going to put your body that is already working so hard any more stress on it than it already has. So during heavier flow days, utilize more gentler movement, gentler forms of exercise, or even just resting. Meditation, yoga, walking, stretching even, all count as exercise during this phase. Movement in general can also help alleviate cramps. So as your cycle progresses, then start adding in some more resistance training like Pilates or low intensity weightlifting. So again, we're not trying to PR. Those are things that can really be a partner to your cycle during this time. And that brings us to the follicular phase. The follicular phase is correlated with springtime. So thinking about foods that are crisp, like lots of salad, fresh fruits and vegetables, colder type of foods can be very nourishing for us during this phase. And then I also forgot to mention during the menstrual phase, it is more associated with winter. So warming foods, grounding foods can be very helpful during the menstrual phase. Back to the follicular phase. Estrogen and progesterone slowly start to increase as you finish up your bleed and you are going into the next phase of your cycle. So you may find yourself regaining some energy. Still taking it easy though. And then this can be a good time to focus on more resistance training or endurance type of training. So going for a hike or even a light jog or a brisk walk can feel really good and nourishing during this phase. And the same goes for weight training. Spiritually, getting out into nature, meditating in nature, dancing in nature, anything outside during this time can really take connecting with yourself to the next level. So then we have the ovulation phase, which is just a few days, and I will put the little graphic here. Ovulation is correlated with summer, which is very on par because thanks to your LH surge in your hormones, you may feel extra alert and ready to move. So during this phase, during the month, this is a great time to book your meetings. This is a great time to take any kind of action that you've been meaning to take. Think about summer and all of the things that are correlated with summer. Being really active, getting in the sun. You might find that intense exercise during this period is more helpful for you. So high intensity interval training, we're back to that really intense spin class and we're pushing those PRs. These can feel a lot more manageable, and these forms of exercise can feel a lot more manageable, and they can also feel like you are on top of the world. You are not dragging ass to try to get through a workout, any type of intense workout that you love to do. Ovulation phase, the perfect time to do it. Also, some women may experience ovulation cramps during this phase too. And if you are someone who, is just generally more prone to cramps and you do experience cramps during this phase, don't hesitate to take it easy or just tone it down a couple notches with your exercise and intensity. Again, the theme of our cycles in general is listening to our bodies, honoring our cycles. Spiritually, during ovulation, if you are not trying to get pregnant, safer sex during this time for sure, but spiritually it's a great time to explore tantra practices, self-pleasure meditations, manifestation practices, mirror work, and all of the self-love affirmations or journaling that you can do is going to be so helpful for your spirit during this time. And then this brings us to the infamous luteal phase that is trending on TikTok right now with the man's video that I was telling you about earlier, asking what the luteal phase is. This is where you're more likely to start losing steam. The luteal phase is correlated with fall. And thinking about fall and its transition, the weather is getting cooler, your meals are starting to get warmer. It's very transitional. So gearing up for menstruation and repeating this cycle all over again. It's the final phase of your hormonal cycle over the month, if you have a traditional cycle. And it can be a lot. I feel like these phases of our cycles, we have 2 really good weeks in the month with our follicular and ovulation phases, and then we have 2 weeks where we are just struggling. We are fighting for energy. We are lethargic. This is one of those phases. So you might notice during this phase, it takes you a lot longer to recover from an intense workout. PMS symptoms can also start up during this time. Breast pain, cramping can also start, and it can make certain types of exercise uncomfortable. So really just pay attention to that. The luteal phase can also have a greater effect on mental health. The luteal phase can also have a greater effect on mental health. Listening to that. So especially if you have PMDD, which is premenstrual dysphoric disorder, or PME. I had PMDD is what my therapist recommended. I have a video on TikTok talking about the usage of a supplement called SAMe. It really helped me when I was in my height of my PMDD symptoms. And it is something that to add to your research to do on your own and to look into on your own. It really helped me. It changed how I was experiencing just very depressive thoughts, even unaliving thoughts, only during this time period. And then as soon as I would get my period, I would be like the happiest surge of just happiness ever. And it's like, oh, I was just getting my period. That's all that was happening. But it's very strange because usually we correlate, feeling kind of low and depressive and have some body dysmorphia going on during our menstrual phase and during the luteal phase as well. But I started taking SAMe and it helped me so much. If you are following me on TikTok, definitely look at that video. It has just my personal experience, firsthand experience, and then also some side effects in another video, I believe. and some things to look out for when you are purchasing that supplement if you do decide to purchase that supplement. This is not a recommendation, just something to look into and do research for on your own if it would be right for you. So, if you tend to feel down during this phase, it's important to focus on exercises that you actually enjoy that are going to help you manage these symptoms and just the emotional stress that you could potentially be feeling during this phase. Whether that's an easy stroll, just taking a walk during your lunch break, outside in the elements, getting sunlight is so important. You could even go on a walk with a friend, or doing some type of restorative yoga during this period can be so nourishing. And if you do feel up for high intensity workouts during this time, go for it. Just pay attention to your body. Any type of movement that gets you sweating is really going to have a positive effect on your mood. Maybe just give yourself a little bit of extra time to recover. So if you are a person who works out Monday through Friday, maybe we're breaking that up into 3 days on, 1 day off, 2 days on, 1 day off. Whatever you need to give yourself extra time to recover. Spiritually, things like a body scan meditation, candlelight journaling, or bubble baths, or even a sound bath or breath work can really help you recenter yourself and connect with your body. This is also the phase where we can tend to be harder on ourselves and just really not feel the best in our bodies. So if you are someone who is listening for the women in your life, and you know that we are in our luteal phase, please be kind to us, be gentler with us, and maybe give us a few little extra compliments during this time just to help us emotionally get through this pretty rough time period for us that happens every single month if you have a traditional cycle. I hope all of this information that I presented to you and all of these tips on how to really honor your different phases of your cycle really just help you to go forward with a better understanding of yourself and your body, or a better understanding of the women in your life and how you can best support them through each of the different phases. I actually want to add this. The MyFlow app has this really cool feature where you can add your significant other or somebody to the app so that they know, they'll get email notifications when you are in what phase and different tips on how they can support you through that. So I thought that was really, really cute. But yes, if you found this information helpful, I would love it if you shared this episode with a friend, sent it to a family member, anybody that you think can benefit from this information. It is so important that we share this information with women, especially because tampons affect 50 to 80% of women who are having a cycle, which is a huge number of women. And we want to keep our women safe, and we want to keep them healthy, and we want to make sure that they're with us for as long as they can be. This leads us into the closing segment. I'm going to turn down the lights, darken the screen so that it is just you and my voice, and you can focus on this meditation to close everything out, to honor your body and really connect with it, no matter what phase of your cycle you're in, no matter if you came here today to learn more about your body or to learn more about someone who you love in your life's body. We all have a body and we all care for our bodies, and this is one way to help us recenter and to help us connect with ourselves. This is best done if you are able to sit and close your eyes, or lay down and close your eyes. If you are not able to do that, such as if you're driving, if you're working out, if you're cooking or doing something else, definitely pause it here and come back to it to do. If you are a meditation person, this one has gotten lots of tingly feeling feedback when I've done it before. So one that you won't want to miss. And I hope that you enjoy this meditation body scan. Today I'm going to be doing a midday mindfulness, so I invite you to find a comfortable place to sit or lay down, whatever feels more comfortable to you. And start by zeroing in on your breath, on your breathing. Inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. Listening to the inhales and that pause right before you exhale. Keep breathing and relax into your body as you focus on all the stress from the day, just leaving with every exhale. And maybe you turn your head from side to side to release some tension, and then bring your chin down and looking up. You're doing so good. You are safe, cozy, and relaxing deeper into yourself. As you are relaxing, laying down, sitting down, I want you to think about the last time you felt unbelievable warmth from a person, from a place, from doing something that you love, that's fulfilling. Thinking about how good it felt. The whole feeling of warmth, just flooding your body, filling it up. And as you sit with these thoughts, I want you to relax your shoulders even further. Feel your chest. On the inhales and exhales, rise and fall. And going down to your stomach, feeling it rise and fall. Feeling the warmth spread from your shoulders all the way down through your fingertips. And feeling that warmth flow over your stomach, all the way down through your hips, the tops of your legs, your knees, your calves, the tops of your feet. And if your eyes are closed, gently begin to blink them open whenever you're ready. Good. Thank yourself for taking these 5 minutes to relax, to de-stress, to put yourself first for a change. And whenever you're You are renewed. And I'll see you next time. Have a beautiful rest of the day. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you found some valuable information that I shared. I hope you enjoyed the meditation and that you feel more grounded and centered with yourself. And with this information, you now have a better understanding of how to approach your next cycle and how to care for yourself in all the in-between phases. Stay tuned for the next episode, which is airing October 14th, so 2 weeks from today. And I'll be discussing how to track your progress when you come from a disordered eating background. As you may have learned in my intro episode, I did struggle with an eating disorder for half of a decade plus, and today I no longer utilize any very strict methods for tracking my progress. I don't weigh my food, I don't track my calories, and I am still able to make progress. I can't wait to share some key tips that I think really make a difference on approaching a more holistic view of your health, progress after recovering from disordered eating or an eating disorder. I'm your host, Kamala Celeste, signing off.